if you don't have like S Arena, Omnibar, those two maybe, like you're kind of screwed. Tracking of group abilities will no longer function in add-ons after the changes. So things like other player cooldowns won't be visible. I think this is really good. Now, we actually got some pretty key info here on a lot of PvP stuff in general. Real quick, okay, so Blizzard making a huge WoW change. Combat add-ons will be eliminated, with the new features coming to replace some of the functions. Okay, so that's the old post, and that's a new post with some more details as to which ones are going to be purged. WoW Game Director details which combat add-ons are safe and which will be eliminated in the coming purge. The process is just beginning, and they will be turned off in the next 2 patches, he said. WoW Senior Game Director Ian recently warned players that add-ons and mods that predict or help players respond to things happening in combat will be disabled in the future. We caught up with him in a far-ranging interview to find out what specifically would be affected and why. Yeah, you have your quest helpers, you have your gathering add-ons, you have your role-playing add-ons. All that stuff is no concern. PvP add-ons might still tell you what classes you're facing, but won't tell you what cooldowns they've used. Wait, that's actually very significant. So, like, Omnibar. Is that RIP Omnibar? Hold up. Auction house add-ons won't be touched. The goal is at the end of the day to get to a point where if asked, hey, do I need to use add-ons to play? The answer is, well, they'll give you a lot of options to customize your experience, but no, it's up to you. Today, if we're being honest, we can't say that. That's true. That's true. I mean, like right now in PvP, if you're a new player, like let's say you start playing WoW, you don't know about any add-ons. If you don't have like S Arena, Omnibar, those two maybe, like you're kind of screwed. But yeah, so what I'm hoping, for example, like they say they're gonna replace some of the functions, like S Arena, having a DR tracker. I think we should have that. Now Omnibar is a different one, like tracking the enemy CDs. I think we should be able to track some stuff, but I think it can go way too far. It's like some kind of limited tracker, I think could be cool. But like tracking everything, it goes too far. But I think overall, I like this. I think it's really, really good what they're doing. But yeah, damn, dude. PvP add-ons might still tell you what classes you're facing, but won't tell you what cooldowns they've used. Like, this is insane. Like, this defines, like, WoW PvP a lot. That's wild, man. I like this. Overall, I think this is good. You shouldn't need add-ons to compete. I think that's a good way of looking at it. But with that being said, that means, like, with the new edit mode, they can add things here. Like, certain add-ons, like functions could be in here. Which I guess they're kind of done with cooldown manager. But they can expand on this. So I agree. Shouldn't need add-ons, but the base UI should also be better and have more options. That's cool, though. He said Blizzard definitely won't take away combat log or hooks in patches 11.1.7 or 11.2, which leaves the door open for the final patches of the War Within expansion, including the pre-patch for the upcoming Midnight expansion later this year. Wait, did they just confirm Midnight later this year? The pre-patch? Including the pre-patch for the upcoming Midnight expansion later this year. Wait, what? Wait, what? I feel like they said a long time ago that they're going to start doing yearly expansions, but I don't know. I don't know, like, if this is from Blizzard themselves or this is the website that's saying this, because they are quoting Blizzard on some stuff because they had an interview with them. But if this confirms Midnight basically coming out like late this year, I guess if the pre-patch is late this year, it's insane. That is crazy. That's hype though. But yeah, I wonder if that's true. This is meant to be a philosophical kickoff and to begin the conversation with the community Haskoda said, add-ons have been a part of the game since the very, very earliest days. If we were just to come along one day and rip off that band-aid, it would be jarring. True. Again, I think it's so important. Like, sure, remove some add-on function and keep some of it gone, but like build up the baseline UI and the options there. Edit mode matter. It has so much potential here. We're just clicking certain things on. That could be good. Mods that help and annoy. Blizzard taking these steps in part because of player complaints about how many add-ons are needed to successfully complete raid and dungeon encounters. Damn. And PvP. Blizzard will be working on improvements to the in-game cooldown manager, visual effects, improvements to the game's UI edit mode. Yes. Audio cues and the handling of nameplates for players and enemies. This is a big one. Like, you have an add-on like better Blizz plates. So good. Like, this add-on is going to be baked in a more simple way into the actual UI. Like, such a good add-on. Because if you just like take that and don't replace it with something good, it feels like just like a net loss. See, this is very good. We like that. Haskoda said the company heard loud and clear that the player feedback to the first basic rollout of the cooldown manager, which was part of the recent troubled 11.15 patch. Players decried its simplicity, lack of functionality, and the fact that it could not be customized. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. Ironically, some mod makers immediately created add-ons to improve it. Yep. Yes. Above a recent Reddit post reacting to the cooldown manager, we know that we're not going to fully replace a fully in-depth customizable add-on that you've been using for years and tailor to your personal gameplay with something that we have in as initial fixed offering, he said. But we're getting a whole bunch of feedback about the ways in which it would need to change. Just like make it possible to pick which things you want to track. That's it, and then it's good, I think. We need data customization and improve it to make it feel like it could be a reasonable substitute for more advanced power user. In-game solutions may not be as good, and that could be okay. I think that's true as well. Like, it doesn't have to have all the functionality of all the weak cores and everything just baked into the UI. It's just certain elements of it that should be. The task ahead of Blizzard will be challenging, he said, but added that having a fixed development team and slower update cycle doesn't mean that Blizzard's solutions have to be we have a deals at home meme situation, or that maybe it's okay if it is. Some of it's being guided by feedback to understand how we can bridge the gap for a majority of our users or for players, and also to some extent accepting and hopefully getting folks to accept it. Well, accept that it's 96% of perfect. Your performance relying on rotation helper Hakili is still inferior to someone who has it all ingrained as a muscle memory. Okay, so now about the one button thing, I guess, that they're baking in. He said it was open to the idea of allowing players shared loadouts like the text string currently used to share talents that might improve rotation assist for those who wanted the latest theory crafting. That could be cool. Dude, okay, so like, I could make a one button rotation for Feral Druid, or like a recommended one, and give it to people in a string, like under my guides, so they can practice it. That'd be interesting. That's an interesting idea. He said this topic has come up in the context of edit mode layouts and other things we want to empower people to share. The overwhelming majority of add-ons won't be affected by the changes. Haskoda stressed, Blizzard considers this a continued collaboration with add-on developers, perhaps even to an extent of partnerships that would allow amateur developers to contribute ideas or coding approaches. Botify. He made BBP and BBF. They need him in there. Hire him. Everything's possible, he said. I don't want to close doors. We're always going to be listening. We're always at the things we add are going to be things that can be reskinned and tweaked by add-on developers. The smallest change possible to achieve the goal. This is not us setting out to smash a bunch of add-ons. He said the way we're approaching this, what's the least collateral damage that we can cause while addressing the issue. The goal is to build up the native functionality of our UI to increasingly narrow the gap between players using add-ons that assist with competitive functions and those who are not. That's really good. Once we are most of the way there, there's going to be that last mile that consists of things that honestly we don't think are super healthy for the game. Maybe like all the weak cores and stuff. Or like Gladiatoros or what it's called. So they're or to take away combat add-ons after the UI has been improved. I think so, yeah. That's kind of how I'm reading it. Previously, Blizzard experimented with private ores that could not be read by add-ons or weak cores. But players circumvented that with in-game macros that told the mods when players saw they had conditions that had been kept secret. Keeping the challenge, ditching the complexity. Yeah, because like if raids and dungeons are like made around people having all this stuff, that's also kind of weird. Like a big part of race to world first and stuff is like having people make certain weak cores fast. We might tune a rogue end boss for a edit curve to be something that's going to take a couple dozen attempts. Yeah, in case not some PvP stuff. Less swirls, more fun for casters. Okay, a lot of PvE stuff, some classic things. These changes will likely not be implemented in Classic, where the team is careful to avoid messing with history. New features like the damage meter might be rolled out, but combat log and aura access is unlikely to be turned off. No more tracking other player or enemies. Tracking of group abilities will no longer function in add-ons after the changes. So things like other player cooldowns won't be visible. But okay, here's the thing, dude. They should really add, like, in-game, in the UI, like, trinket tracker for your teammates. That should be there, man. That really should be there. That might in turn lead to dungeons with fewer interrupts and pack of mobs, which might turn to lead to less reliance on class with abilities to stop a whole pack of enemies from casting. Income meals will no longer be trackable, nor will specialized buffs or debuffs. But if they needed to be, that should be built into the base game. Yes. It should be part of the default UI, he said. Same is true for tank swaps. Yes. This is so important, though. Another issue they want to make more visible is diminishing returns in PvP and PvE, where stuns or other crowd control become less effective after repeated casts until an enemy is immune. Okay. We have this very important mechanic, and really, unless you're using an add-on, it's not super obvious. Said we should make that obvious. Yes, dude. Like S Arena should be baseline, 100%. That's good. And also big debuffs, man. At the end of the day, the game should be just as easy or difficult as it is right now, he said, but for different reasons. But part of the goal of mechanics is to create a problem that needs to be solved, and a bit of a challenge that feels satisfying once you overcome it. My goal is to keep similar numbers of wipe counts for normal, heroic, and mythic encounters, early versus late, similar success rates, but to tailor that to a world where the problems are once again in players' own flesh and blood hands to solve, not an algorithm that they've downloaded. Okay. I think this is really good. Now, we actually got some pretty key info here on Omnibar, S Arena, a lot of PvP stuff in general. So this is pretty nice to read. I think it's really, really good, actually, what they're doing. Cool. That's cool.